There's been a mistake. The receptionist's voice cuts through the tiled courtyard of Riyadh Zara, her Darija accent thick with genuine distress. Sana Carter looks up from her backpack, camera still warm around her neck. The fountain behind her burbles softly in the dusk, the zellige tiles catching the last amber light filtering through the open sky above the courtyard. She's been traveling alone for 11 months now, Seoul to Bangkok, Mumbai to Istanbul, and finally here to Marrakesh. Mistakes happen. She's learned to roll with them. What kind of mistake? The receptionist's eyes dart between her tablet and the entrance archway. 2 confirmed reservations, same room, same dates. She swallows. I'm so sorry, Miss Carter, but we're completely full due to the... I can take another Riyadh. Sana keeps her voice calm, even though exhaustion pulls at her bones. She photographed a ceramics artisan for 4 hours today, crouched in dust and heat, capturing the exact moment weathered hands shaped clay into beauty. Everything in the Medina is booked. The Heritage Festival starts tomorrow. Footsteps echo against ancient stone. Sana turns. A man stands in the arched entrance, backlit by the Medina's golden chaos beyond. Korean features, maybe mid-30s, wearing a charcoal overcoat that's absurdly formal for a backpacker Riyadh. No camera, no guidebook. Just expensive luggage that somehow doesn't look pretentious, and eyes that sweep the courtyard with unsettling attention to detail. Lee Jae-hoon, he says to the receptionist in English, his accent barely there. I have a confirmation. The receptionist's face crumples. Mr. Lee, yes, we have a serious problem with your booking. Jae-hoon's gaze finally lands on Sana. Something shifts in his expression. Recognition, maybe, though they've never met. Or perhaps just the weary acknowledgement of 2 people caught in the same absurd situation. Let me guess, Sana says, standing. You're the other reservation. His mouth quirks. Almost a smile. Looks that way. The receptionist launches into rapid apologies, offering refunds, promising to call every contact in her phone. Sana watches Jae-hoon instead. He's not looking at his phone like most travelers would, already searching for backup accommodations. He's looking at the courtyard fountain, at the carved cedar doors leading to what should be their room, at the small succulent plants in terracotta pots lining the upper gallery, like he's memorizing it. I have a suggestion, Jae-hoon says quietly, cutting through the receptionist's panic. He looks at Sana, and there's something disarming in his directness. The room has 2 beds, according to the listing. We're both adults. We both need a place to sleep. He pauses. Unless that makes you uncomfortable. The receptionist freezes. Sana should say no. She's traveled alone precisely to avoid complications like handsome strangers with watchful eyes. But something in his tone isn't predatory. It's practical, almost tired. And there's something else. She saw him earlier today in the spice souk, standing motionless while tourists jostled past, watching an elderly woman weave a basket with fingers bent by arthritis. Not photographing, not buying. Just witnessing with an intensity that made Sana lower her own camera. She'd thought, that man understands what I'm doing here. One condition, Sana says. You tell me why you're really in Marrakesh. Jae-hoon's eyes sharpen. What makes you think I'm here for any reason beyond tourism? Because tourists don't stand in spice markets watching craftspeople like they're looking for answers to questions they haven't asked yet. Silence. The fountain fills it, water over stone, eternal and patient. Deal, Jae-hoon finally says. But you have to answer the same question. If someone could rewrite your entire life in a single conversation, would you let them? Stay with me. Because what happens on that terrace tonight will set 2 worlds on a collision course neither of them can control. And the room is exactly what Sana expected from a traditional Riyadh. 2 single beds with embroidered covers, a carved wooden screen dividing the space, a window opening onto the courtyard where stars are beginning to pierce the indigo sky. What she didn't expect was how comfortable the silence would be. Jae-hoon moves with quiet efficiency, unpacking only essentials. A laptop that looks too sleek for leisure travel, a leather notebook, edges worn. He catches her looking. I work remotely, he offers. Easier to maintain the illusion of productivity. What kind of work? The kind that follows you everywhere. He closes the laptop. You said you're a documentarian? Cultural storytelling, Sana corrects. She sits on her bed, pulling her own battered moleskin from her bag, the notebook that's traveled with her through 14 countries, filled with stories of people the world ignores. I photograph and record oral histories. People who are disappearing while the world looks the other way. Jihoon leans against the window frame. Why alone? The question lands differently than she expected. Not judgment, genuine curiosity. Because solo travel is honest, Sana says. No one to perform for. No one to compromise with. Just you and the world as it actually is. Lonely, though. Lonely and alone are different things. He considers this, then nods slowly. Yes, they are. The call to prayer drifts through the window, layered and distant. Sana recognizes the shift in his posture, the way travelers look when they're calculating time zones, responsibilities left behind, the cost of being unreachable. The receptionist mentioned a terrace, Jihoon says abruptly. With dinner service. Are you hungry? She is. More than that, she's curious about this man who dresses like corporate soul, but watches artisans like a pilgrim seeking grace. Let me grab my jacket. When the rooftop terrace is strung with lanterns, their warm light barely competing with the vast sweep of stars overhead. Marrakech sprawls below, a carpet of orange and gold, the Kutubiyya Mosque rising like a blessing against the horizon. They're the only guests up here. The festival crowds haven't arrived yet. Mint tea steams between them. The tagine, lamb with apricots and almonds, fills the air with cinnamon and saffron. So, Sana says, breaking bread. Why Marrakech? Jihoon takes longer to answer than the question warrants. When he speaks, his voice carries something raw. I built something beautiful, and then I realized I had no idea why I built it. That's cryptic. You asked why I'm here. That's the answer. He looks at her directly. I came to remember what authentic looks like, before I completely forget. Sana feels the truth of it in her chest. I quit my job 18 months ago, she hears herself say. I was an associate curator at a contemporary art museum in Atlanta. Great salary, corner office, my name on exhibition catalogs. Everyone said I'd made it. But you hadn't. I was curating other people's visions of the world, hosting galas for donors who couldn't name a single artist in the show, smiling through funding meetings where diverse programming meant one artist of color per fiscal year. She takes a sip of tea, lets it burn her tongue. One day I was hanging a piece, this gorgeous installation about migration and memory, and I realized I was literally putting someone else's truth on a wall while ignoring my own. So you left. I left everything. Apartment, relationship, retirement account, bought a camera and a one-way ticket. She laughs, but it's not quite steady. My ex-boyfriend said I was having a breakdown disguised as enlightenment. Was he right? Probably, but it's the best breakdown I've ever had. Jihoon smiles then, a real smile that transforms his entire face, making him look younger, less burdened. I think I understand that. They eat in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, Marrakech pulses with life. Motorbike engines, laughter from distant courtyards, the percussion of a city that never quite sleeps. Can I ask you something? Jihoon's voice is careful. When you're documenting these stories, these lives, what are you looking for? No one has asked her that before. Not Clara, not fellow travelers, not even herself directly. Proof, Sana says slowly, that a meaningful life doesn't have to look like what we're told it should. That someone who makes pottery in a Medina stall has just as much wisdom as someone in a corner office. Maybe more. And have you found it? That proof? She thinks of the ceramist today. 70 years old, fingers gnarled but sure, who told Sana about teaching his granddaughter the exact pressure needed to shape wet clay. How he said, "When you know your purpose, your hands remember even when your mind forgets." "Every single day," Sana whispers. Ji-hoon is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks again, his voice is almost confessional. "I built a company that's supposed to create meaningful travel experiences. Sustainable tourism, cultural immersion, all the right buzzwords." He stares into his tea. "But I haven't actually really traveled, in 3 years. Just flew business class to board meetings and hotel conferences." "What changed?" "I woke up in a Tokyo hotel at 3 a.m. and couldn't remember which city I was in. Couldn't remember why it mattered." His jaw tightens. "I've been so focused on scaling the business that I lost the reason I started it. So I told my team I needed a month offline. No itinerary, no plan." "Except you ended up in Marrakesh with a confirmed reservation," Sana points out gently. "That's not exactly spontaneous." He has the grace to look caught. "Old habits. I needed a starting point." "And what happens after Marrakech?" "I don't know." The admission seems to cost him. "For the first time in my adult life, I genuinely don't know what happens next." Sana recognizes the vertigo in his voice. She lived in that freefall for 6 months before she stopped fighting it and learned to float. "Here's what I've learned," she says. "The not knowing is the point. That's where the actual living happens." Ji-hoon looks at her with something like hunger. Not physical, but existential. Like she's speaking a language he used to know but forgot. "Are you running from something?" Sana asks quietly. "Or looking for something?" It's the question she asked earlier, echoed back. Ji-hoon sets down his tea, and for a heartbeat, she thinks he won't answer. Then, "I don't know yet." His honesty cracks something open between them. The night suddenly feels less vast, the distance across the small table both infinite and non-existent. A door opens below. Voices drift up, other guests arriving, the spell breaking gently. "We should probably get some sleep," Ji-hoon says, but he doesn't move. Neither does Sana. She already knows sleep will be difficult tonight, and not because of the stranger sharing her room. Because of the way this conversation felt like coming home to a place she's never been. "Tomorrow," Ji-hoon says, standing finally. "I have a guide meeting me. Malik Hassan, supposed to be the best in the Medina for authentic cultural experiences." He hesitates. "Would you want to join us?" Warning bells should be ringing. Sana travels alone for a reason, but she hears herself say, "What time?" 9 a.m., Jama Elfna Square. "I'll be there." As they descend the stairs, Sana catches Ji-hoon's reflection in one of the ornate mirrors lining the passage. He's watching her with an expression she can't quite read. Careful and curious, and something else that makes her pulse quicken. "What are you really doing here, Lee Ji-hoon?" But she doesn't ask. Not yet. Some questions, she's learning, answer themselves in time. Jama Elfna at 9 a.m. is a different creature than at night. Merchants setting up stalls, the smell of fresh orange juice mixing with grilling meat, snake charmers tuning their punji flutes. Sana arrives first, camera ready, already composing shots of the square waking up. "You're early." Ji-hoon's voice at her shoulder makes her jump. Photographer's habit. Best light is now. He's dressed down today. Dark jeans, a simple gray Henley, but he still carries himself with that particular posture of someone used to rooms rearranging themselves around his presence. She wonders what he actually does. This man who talks about companies and scaling but travels alone to find himself. Malik should be... Ji-hoon stops mid-sentence. An older Moroccan man approaches through the crowd, traditional jalaba in rich terracotta, silver beard neatly trimmed, eyes that miss nothing. He walks with the confidence of someone who's owned these streets for decades. "Annyeonghaseyo, Ji-hoon-shi," the man says in flawless Korean, bowing slightly. Sana's head snaps toward Ji-hoon. His face has gone carefully blank. "Malik," Ji-hoon replies in English too quickly. "This is Sana Carter. She's joining us today if that's all right." Malik's gaze shifts to her, warm, but assessing. Marhaba, Miss Carter. Any friend of Jihoon's is welcome. His English carries a British education underneath the Moroccan accent. Though I admit, I'm surprised. Jihoon usually prefers to observe alone. We're sharing a riad, Sana says, watching Jihoon's micro-expression. Booking error. Ah, Malik's smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. How fortunate. The word choice is deliberate. Sana feels the current beneath this interaction. Something unspoken. A script she hasn't been given. Shall we begin? Malik gestures toward the Medina's labyrinth. I thought we'd start with the tanneries, then the Bahia Palace, and finish at a ceramics cooperative I work with. As they walk, Malik narrates the Medina's history with the easy authority of a man who's told these stories 1,000 times, but still finds meaning in them. He points out architectural details in doorways, explains the symbolism in Zelija tile patterns, greets shopkeepers by name. But Sana notices. He keeps glancing at Jihoon, checking in, like a guide who's being paid for more than just cultural translation. They reach the tanneries, the famous leather dyeing pits that tourists photograph while holding mint leaves to their noses against the smell. Sana has seen pictures, but the reality is more visceral. Men standing waist-deep in stone vessels filled with pigeon droppings and cow urine, the ancient method for softening leather, colors so vivid they look photoshopped. This is one of the oldest tanneries in Marrakesh, Malik explains. Been operating for almost 1,000 years using the same techniques. Jihoon leans against the viewing platform railing, and Sana sees it again, that intensity. He's not taking pictures, he's memorizing. The way the workers move, the efficiency of the process, the pride in their faces despite the brutal labor. You've brought him here before, Sana says quietly to Malik, while Jihoon is focused on the pits below. Malik's eyebrows rise fractionally. You're observant. It's my job. What exactly is your job, Miss Carter? I document authentic human experiences, the kind that don't make it into glossy travel magazines. Ah. Malik nods slowly. Then you and Jihoon have more in common than you might think. What does that mean? But Malik is already moving toward Jihoon, switching to Korean. Sana catches only the rhythm of it. Jihoon responding in short sentences. Malik asking what sound like gentle probing questions. She should feel excluded. Instead, she feels curious and slightly unsettled. The Bahia Palace is a study in Islamic geometric perfection. Intricate stucco work, painted cedar ceilings, courtyards within courtyards creating an infinite sense of intimate space. Tour groups cluster around guides with flags and microphones, but Malik leads them to quieter corners. This palace was built in the late 1800s, Malik says, by a grand vizier for his 4 wives and 24 concubines. Notice how each courtyard has its own personality, but follows the same underlying structure. Sana photographs a doorway where light falls through carved screens in geometric patterns. When she lowers her camera, Jihoon is watching her. You photograph differently than most travelers, he observes. How so? You wait. Most people shoot everything constantly. You wait for the right moment. She's surprised he noticed. Patience is underrated in photography and in life. Is that why you travel alone? Patience? Partially. Sana adjusts her lens. But also because when you're alone, you have to be present. You can't hide behind conversation or companionship. Just you and whatever you're experiencing. Sounds exhausting. It is, but it's honest exhausting. Not the kind where you're performing exhaustion for someone else's benefit. Jihoon absorbs this, then asks carefully, do you ever miss it? Having someone to share moments with? The question lands in a tender place. Sana thinks of sunsets she's watched alone, meals she's eaten in silence, minor victories. A perfect photograph, a broken language breakthrough, with no one to tell. Sometimes, she admits, but I missed myself more when I wasn't alone. That seemed like the worst loss. Before Jihoon can respond, Malik calls them to another courtyard. But as they walk, Jihoon's hand briefly touches her lower back, a gentlemanly gesture guiding her through the doorway. The contact lasts half a second but leaves heat in its wake. In the central courtyard, a fountain burbles quietly. Malik is explaining the significance of water in Islamic architecture, but Sana isn't listening. She's watching Jihoon crouch beside the fountain, trailing his fingers through the water with an expression of such profound longing it makes her chest ache. He's looking for something he lost, Malik says quietly beside her. Sana startles. What did he lose? That's his story to tell, not mine. Malik's dark eyes are kind but firm. But I will say, be careful with him, Miss Carter, and with yourself. I don't understand. Men who look like they have everything rarely arrive in Marrakech alone without reason. And women who photograph pain as beautifully as you do are usually running from their own. The observation is too accurate, too intimate from a stranger. Sana's defenses rise. You don't know me. No, Malik agrees. But I know the look. I've seen it in every mirror for 30 years. He smiles gently. I ran too, once. All the way from London back to Marrakech. Took me a decade to realize you can't outrun yourself. You can only decide whether to keep running or finally turn around. Sana wants to argue, but Jihoon returns before she can formulate a response. This place, Jihoon says, voice rough. It's exactly what I needed to see. Thank you, Malik. The older man clasps Jihoon's shoulder. You're welcome, my friend. Now come, I want to show you something even the tour guides don't know about. The ceramics cooperative is tucked down an alley so narrow Sana has to turn sideways. Inside, it opens into a sun-drenched workshop, where 5 artisans work at wheels, hands moving with the fluency of a language spoken since childhood. Malik introduces them to Youssef, the master ceramist, the same man Sana photographed yesterday, though she doesn't mention it. Youssef's face creases with welcome, and he gestures them to stools, offering tea that appears as if summoned. Youssef's family has made pottery for 7 generations, Malik translates, though Youssef's French is decent. He's teaching his granddaughter now, the youngest master he's trained. A girl of maybe 12 works at a smaller wheel in the corner, her concentration absolute as she centers clay. Sana's heart clenches with recognition. That focus, that sense of purpose the world tells girls they should find in other things. Jihoon watches the girl work with an expression Sana can't decode. Then he asks Malik something in Korean. Malik responds, then turns to Youssef and translates. Youssef's answer is long, passionate, hands moving to illustrate points. He says, Malik tells them, that his biggest fear is that his granddaughter will abandon pottery for an office job because society values profit over craft. But his biggest hope is that she'll love the work enough to choose it anyway, even knowing she'll never be wealthy. Has she decided? Sana asks. Youssef looks at his granddaughter, and his smile is complicated. Pride and worry and love. He says something else. He says she has her grandmother's hands and her mother's stubbornness. So probably yes, she'll choose pottery, and he'll worry about her forever. Jihoon stands abruptly, walks to the girl's wheel. He crouches beside her, watching her hands shape the clay. Says something in English. Sana catches beautiful work, and the girl beams. But when Jihoon returns to them, his face is tight. Malik, he says quietly. Can we talk? Privately? Warning bells. Sana watches them step into the courtyard, their conversation in Korean too quick and low for her to parse even the emotional tenor. Youssef offers her more tea. Your husband? He asks in French. Oh no, just traveling together. By accident. Youssef's knowing smile suggests he doesn't believe in accidents. He looks at you, Youssef observes. The way my son looked at my daughter-in-law. Like he's memorizing you in case you disappear. Sana's pulse stutters. You're mistaken. Perhaps. But his eyes say otherwise. When Malik and Jihoon return, something has shifted. Jihoon won't meet her gaze, and Malik looks troubled. I think, Malik says carefully, We should call it a day. Sana, would you mind if I spoke with Jihoon alone tonight? There's a matter regarding his project that needs discussion. Project. The word hangs there, coded and deliberate. Of course, Sana says, keeping her voice neutral even as curiosity burns. I have editing to do anyway. But as they navigate back through the Medina, she feels the distance growing between her and Jihoon like a physical thing. Whatever truth passed between him and Malik, it's erected a wall. At the Riyadh entrance, Jihoon finally looks at her. Sana, He stops. Starts again. Thank you for today. For joining us. Are you all right? Yes. No, I don't know. He runs a hand through his hair, and for the first time he looks genuinely lost. I'm sorry I'm being cryptic. I'm just trying to figure something out. About your company? His eyes sharpen. What makes you think I have a company? You said you built something beautiful. The way you observe everything like you're quality checking an experience. The fact that Malik clearly works with you in some capacity beyond being a tour guide. Sana crosses her arms. I'm not an idiot, Jihoon. He's quiet for a long moment. Then, no, you're definitely not. So what is it you're not telling me? If I tell you, Jihoon says slowly, it might change how you see this. Us. What's happening here? And what is happening here? The question floats between them, weighted with everything unsaid. The confessions on the terrace. The way their silences feel like conversations. The heat of his hand on her back this afternoon. I don't know, Jihoon whispers. But I don't want to ruin it before I figure it out. Sana should push. Should demand transparency. But something in his face, vulnerable and honest and scared, stops her. Okay, she says. But Jihoon, whatever you're protecting, just make sure it's worth protecting. Because lies by omission are still lies. He nods tightly. I know. That night, alone in their room while he meets with Malik, Sana reviews the day's photos. She stops on one she doesn't remember taking. Must have been an accidental shutter press. It's Jihoon at the palace fountain, kneeling, his reflection rippling in the water. The look on his face is devastated. What are you running from, Lee Jihoon? And why does it feel like when he figures it out, it's going to break both their hearts? 3 days later, Sana stands on a train platform in Tangier with a ticket to Lisbon and a chest full of questions. She hasn't seen Jihoon since that afternoon. He left a note under her door the morning after his meeting with Malik. Had to handle something. I'm sorry. Jay. She should have been relieved. Back to solo travel. Back to the clear boundaries of documenting other people's lives instead of getting tangled in her own. But she missed him. Missed the way conversations with him felt like archaeology. Carefully uncovering layers to reach something true underneath. Clara called yesterday. So? How's Morocco? Met any mysterious strangers? Sana had laughed it off. Didn't mention the Korean CEO who might not actually be a CEO, who looked at Clay like it held answers to prayers he hadn't learned to speak yet. Now, waiting for the train, she edits photos on her laptop. The ceramist, the tannery workers, the girl at the pottery wheel. And one she keeps returning to. Jihoon's reflection in the fountain. Sana. She looks up so fast she nearly drops her camera. Jihoon stands 3 meters away, travel bag slung over his shoulder, hair slightly disheveled like he's been running. He looks simultaneously relieved and terrified to see her. What are you doing here? Her voice comes out sharper than intended. I have a ticket to Lisbon. He holds it up as proof. I was hoping... Can we talk? You disappeared for 3 days. I know. I'm sorry. He steps closer. I needed to make a decision, and I couldn't do it while looking at you. The honesty of it disarms her. What decision? The train platform announcement interrupts. Boarding in 5 minutes. On the train, Jihoon says. Please, give me the hours to Lisbon and I'll explain everything. Sana searches his face for manipulation, for calculation, finds only raw hope. Fine. But Jahoon, if you're not honest with me this time, I get off at the first stop and you leave me alone. Understood? Understood. They find an empty compartment. The train pulls out of Tangier, the Mediterranean appearing in flashes between buildings before opening into full coastal glory. Jahoon sits across from her, hands clasped, looking like a man about to walk onto a battlefield. My full name is Lee Jahoon. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Journey True. Sana's breath catches. She knows that company. Boutique, high-end conscious travel experiences, written up in National Geographic and Condé Nast as the future of sustainable tourism. You're that Lee Jahoon. Yes. And you're in Morocco because my company is about to go public. Investors are pushing for rapid expansion, more itineraries, more countries, less time spent on cultural vetting. And I was in Seoul 3 months ago in a conference room, approving an itinerary for Marrakesh that I'd never personally audited, and I realized... His voice cracks. I realized I had no idea if it was authentic anymore. If anything we were creating was authentic. The pieces slot together. Malik working with him. The way he observed everything with quality control intensity. So you came to test your own itineraries, Sana says slowly. Undercover. Yes. Morocco, then Portugal, then Thailand. I was going to spend a month experiencing Journey True trips as a regular client. See where we're cutting corners, where we're prioritizing profit over purpose. And the duplicate reservation? Jahoon has the grace to look guilty. Wasn't a mistake. My assistant booked it under my name, and I requested another booking under a pseudonym so no one would recognize me. He takes a breath. But she accidentally confirmed both under different systems. So when you showed up, you decided to maintain your cover. I was going to tell you that first night. But then we talked on the terrace, and you said that thing about documenting proof that meaningful lives don't have to look like what we're told they should. And I realized... He looks at her directly. You're exactly what I've lost. That purity of purpose. That willingness to sacrifice security for truth. Sana's anger wars with understanding. So I became what? Your inspiration? Your authenticity mascot? No. Jahoon leans forward. You became someone I couldn't lie to, which is why I've been losing my mind for 3 days. What did Malik say? That I was a fool for not telling you immediately. That when you build something important on a foundation of omission, it collapses. He swallows. That I should tell you everything, and accept whatever you decided after. The train rocks gently beneath them. Outside, Portugal approaches. Green hills rolling toward an unseen border. Why Lisbon? Sana asks. Journey True has a cultural walking tour there. Fado music, traditional tiles, family-owned restaurants. I need to audit it. He pauses. But also, I bought the ticket because I saw yours on the table at the Riad. I thought maybe if we were going to the same place, I'd get another chance to tell you the truth. That's manipulative. I know. And presumptuous. I know. And incredibly romantic in a completely infuriating way. Jahoon's eyes widen. Is it? Sana wants to stay angry, should stay angry, but she's thinking about his face at the fountain. The way he listened to Youssef talk about his granddaughter with the intensity of a man learning a new theology. Why did you look so devastated at the Bahia Palace fountain? She asks quietly. The question clearly catches him off guard. He's silent for so long she thinks he won't answer. Then, because I realized I built Journey True to create exactly those moments. Quiet beauty, spaces for reflection, connection to something older and wiser than our modern chaos. And I've been so busy building it that I haven't experienced a single moment like that in years. His voice drops to almost a whisper. I forgot how to be present in the thing I was creating. And meeting you made me realize how much I've lost. The rawness of it cracks her defenses. I quit my job because I was curating beauty without living it, Sana says. So I understand that loss. I really do. She holds his gaze. But Ji-hoon, you lied to me, for days. I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough. I know. He takes a shaky breath. What would be enough? Sana looks at him. This man who built an empire on authenticity and lost himself in the process. Who carries that loss in his body like a wound. Who looked at her across a tagine and confessed his lostness with the trust of someone who recognized a fellow exile. The truth, she says finally. From this moment forward, complete truth. About your company, about your audits, about why you're really traveling. No more omissions. And if the truth is complicated, then it's complicated. But at least it's real. Ji-hoon nods slowly. Deal. He extends his hand across the small table between them. Sana takes it. His palm is warm, calloused in unexpected places. A businessman's hands that haven't forgotten manual labor entirely. So, she says, not letting go yet. Tell me about the Lisbon itinerary you're auditing. His smile is relief and promise combined. It starts with a tile museum and ends at a fado bar in Alfama. Between those, I genuinely don't know, which is the point. Can I photograph it? For my documentation project? On one condition. What's that? When you document me inevitably screwing up cultural interactions because I'm out of practice at actual travel, you promise to show me the photos so I can fix the itinerary. Sana laughs, surprised by the sound. Deal. Outside the window, Portugal unfolds in terraced vineyards and whitewashed villages. Inside the compartment, something fragile and important has been named if not yet built. Sana, Ji-hoon says quietly. Thank you for listening. Thank you for telling the truth. She pauses. Eventually. His wince is sheepish. I deserve that. They don't talk much for the rest of the journey, but it's the comfortable silence from that first night, earned back through honesty. When the train pulls into Lisbon, they gather their bags like partners instead of strangers. And when Ji-hoon's hand finds her lower back guiding her through the crowd, Sana doesn't pull away. Can a foundation cracked by lies be rebuilt with truth? Or will the secrets still hiding in Seoul's towers shatter what's just begun? Keep reading, because the hardest test is still ahead. Lisbon is all steep hills and pastel facades, trams clattering through narrow streets like mobile postcards. The Journey True itinerary takes them through the Tile Museum, walls of azulejos telling centuries of stories in ceramic, and into Alfama's labyrinth of alleys smelling of grilled sardines and longing. Sana photographs Ji-hoon photographing a tile mural of ships and sea monsters. He's using his phone, but his attention is total, checking angles, considering composition. You're actually good at this, she observes. I used to document field research for the company, before I became too important for field work. His tone carries bitterness. And now you're doing it again. Yeah. He lowers his phone, looks at her. Feels like remembering a language I used to dream in. That night, the itinerary leads them to a tiny fado bar tucked under stone arches, barely room for 15 people, air thick with wine and melancholy. The singer is a woman in her 70s, her voice carrying the particular ache of Portuguese saudade, that untranslatable longing for something lost or never had. Ji-hoon listens with his whole body. Sana takes one photo, his profile in candlelight, jaw tight, eyes glistening, and then lowers her camera. Some moments shouldn't be documented, should just be witnessed. After the performance, the singer, Maria, joins their table. The bar owner translates her Portuguese. She says you looked like you understood every word, even though she knows you don't speak Portuguese. Ji-hoon responds in halting Spanish, close enough that Maria nods. They speak for several minutes while Sana nurses her wine, watching this man code switch between languages and cultural registers with the ease of someone truly cosmopolitan. Finally, Maria turns to Sana. Her English is thickly accented but clear. This man loves you. Sana nearly chokes on her wine. We just met. But Maria is shaking her head. Not yet, maybe, But soon. She looks at Jihoon, something sad in her eyes. Be careful, Philo. Love built on different worlds is beautiful, but it is also war. Make sure you both know which world you're choosing. The warning sits heavy between them as they walk back to their separate hotel rooms. Jihoon had insisted on booking 2 this time, creating space that somehow feels like loss. At her door, Jihoon says, "She's wrong, you know." About which part? That I have to choose between worlds. I think maybe the point is building a third one. And if that's not possible, then I guess, Jihoon says quietly, I figure out which world matters more. He doesn't say which one. Doesn't have to. The fact that it's even a question tells Sana everything she needs to know. 4 days in Lisbon. They fall into a rhythm. Mornings testing itinerary components. Afternoons where Sana photographs street art and Jihoon takes notes in his leather journal. Evenings that blur into wine and conversation. He tells her about growing up in a declining chaebol family, the pressure to restore their status, his mother's elegant disappointment when he chose tourism over finance. She tells him about being the scholarship kid at a prestigious art school, about her ex-boyfriend who loved the idea of dating a curator more than the reality of who she was. They don't touch beyond accidental brushes. Don't kiss, though the wanting is palpable. It's like they both know. Once they cross that line, everything gets complicated. The complication arrives at 3 a.m. on their 5th night. Sana wakes to pounding on her hotel room door. Jihoon stands in the hallway in pajama pants and an inside-out t-shirt, phone clutched like a weapon. I have to go to Seoul, he says without preamble. Now, today. What happened? My CFO sold company shares without authorization to cover a deficit I didn't know we had. The investor is threatening a hostile takeover unless I return immediately to renegotiate terms. He looks wrecked, hair disheveled, eyes bloodshot. How long will you be gone? I don't know. A week? Maybe more? He runs a shaking hand through his hair. Sana, I'm so sorry. I know I just got you to trust me again, and now. Hey. She takes his hand. It's ice cold. This isn't your fault. Go. Handle your company. I'll be here. Will you? The question is naked with need. I'm going to Porto next, for my project. You have my number. When you're done in Seoul, call me. He pulls her into a hug so sudden and tight it steals her breath. She feels his heartbeat against her cheek, rabbit fast and terrified. I'm coming back, he whispers into her hair. I promise. I know. But as she watches him throw clothes into his bag 20 minutes later, calling his assistant in rapid Korean, she wonders if promises matter when entire oceans and corporate empires stand between them. At the airport drop-off, Jihoon kisses her forehead. Wait for me, he says. How long? I don't know, but please. Sana nods, unable to speak past the tightness in her throat. She watches his taxi disappear into Lisbon traffic, and for the first time in 18 months of solo travel, she feels crushingly, devastatingly alone. Porto is beautiful in the way of cities that have survived centuries of tragedy and kept making wine anyway. Sana photographs the Douro River, the port wine cellars, street vendors selling roasted chestnuts. But everything feels muted without Jihoon's quiet commentary beside her. Clara video calls. Okay, what's wrong? You look like someone killed your dog. I don't have a dog. Exactly my point. What happened? Sana tells her. All of it. The Riyadh, the confessions, the lies, Lisbon, the 3 a.m. goodbye. Clara is quiet for a long moment. Then, are you in love with him? I've known him for 2 weeks. That's not what I asked. Sana looks at her reflection in the hotel mirror. Hair wild, eyes shadowed, wearing one of Jihoon's hoodies that he left behind, and she definitely didn't steal. I don't know, she whispers. Maybe. Is that insane? Only if you're asking me, Clara says gently. But Sana, honey, you have to be realistic. He's a CEO with a company imploding. You're a nomad who's allergic to roots. How does that work? I don't know. And are you willing to find out? Because if you're not, you should walk away now before it gets harder. Sana thinks about Jihoon's face at the fountain, the way he listened like her words were scripture, how his hands shook when he said goodbye. I think it's already hard, she admits. Then you have to decide. Are you running towards something, or just running? After the call, Sana opens her laptop to edit photos. Stops on the one from the Fado bar. Jihoon's profile, candlelight, devastated beauty. She hasn't heard from him in 4 days. No calls, no texts. Just silence. She should be angry. Should move on to the next city, the next story, the next proof that meaningful lives don't require another person to validate them. Instead, she books a hotel room for another week and waits. The news breaks on a rainy Tuesday morning. Sana is drinking coffee in a Porto cafe when her phone explodes with notifications. A Google alert for Journey True. She'd set it up. Curiosity overcoming pride. The headline makes her stomach drop. Journey True, CEO Lee Jihoon, spotted with mystery woman, new romance or corporate strategy. Below it, a photo. Sana and Jihoon in Lisbon, walking close, his hand on her lower back. Her face is visible, clear, identifiable. The article speculates wildly. Is she a consultant, a secret investor, a romantic distraction while his company burns? Her phone rings. Unknown Seoul number. Miss Carter? A woman's voice, crisp English with a Korean accent. My name is Park Soyeon. I believe you know my son, Lee Jihoon. Sana's mouth goes dry. Yes. We've been traveling. I'm aware. The voice could cut glass. I'm calling as a courtesy. My son is in the middle of very delicate negotiations that will determine the future of his company and, frankly, his reputation. The media attention on his personal life is not helpful. I didn't ask for media attention. Didn't you? A pause, weighted with judgment. Miss Carter, I've researched your background. Failed curator turned wandering photographer. No fixed address, no career prospects, living off savings while documenting authentic experiences. The quotes are audible. I'm sure my son finds that very romantic. But romance doesn't save companies. It doesn't restore family legacies. What exactly are you asking me to do? I'm asking you to consider whether your presence in Jihoon's life is helping or hurting him. He's worked for 12 years to build Journey True, to prove he wasn't just another chaebol failure. And now, when he needs absolute focus, he's distracted by a woman he barely knows. The words land like blows, because they're partially true. Sana is a distraction. She did derail Jihoon's audit trip, and she has no idea how to fit into his soul reality. Has Jihoon asked you to call me? My son doesn't know about this conversation, and I'd appreciate if you didn't mention it. A breath. I'm not a villain, Miss Carter. I'm a mother who's watched her son sacrifice everything for a dream that's currently on fire. If you care about him at all, you'll let him focus on saving it. The line goes dead. Sana sits in the cafe as rain streaks the windows, her coffee going cold. She thinks about Maria's warning. Love built on different worlds is war. She pulls out her phone, deletes the text she'd started. I saw the article. Are you okay? Instead, she opens her laptop and books a flight to Rome. Solo. No itinerary. Just her and a camera, and the freedom she chose over everything else. Because maybe Clara and Mrs. Park are both right. Maybe some people aren't meant to land. Rome. Athens. Istanbul. Sana documents artisans and street musicians and families who've run the same bakery for 6 generations. Her work is good. Better than before, actually. Like heartbreak sharpened her eye for others' pain. She doesn't call Jihoon. He doesn't call her. Clara tries to get the full story, but Sana deflects. It was a brief travel romance. We both knew it had an expiration date. Then why do you look like you're attending your own funeral? Sana doesn't answer. She sees updates through industry news. Journey True survived the hostile takeover. Lee Jae-hoon negotiated a deal that preserved his control while bringing in a strategic partner. Stock prices are up. He's been photographed at Seoul Society events, always alone, looking polished and distant. She deletes her Google alerts. 3 months after Lisbon, she's in a cafe in Rome editing photos when Clara video calls. "I have news," Clara says without preamble. "About your CEO. He's not my—" Lee Jae-hoon resigned as CEO of Journey True. Sana's coffee cup freezes halfway to her lips. What? It's all over the business news. He transferred leadership to the board, took a new role as chief cultural guardian or something. Basically means he's going to travel full-time auditing the company's experiences. Clara's eyes are sharp through the screen. The article says the decision was unrelated to personal matters, but we both know that's corporate speak for exactly the opposite. Sana closes her laptop with shaking hands. That doesn't mean anything, doesn't it? He restructured his entire life, Sana. Gave up the CEO title he built for 12 years. And you're telling me that has nothing to do with a certain photographer who taught him what authentic actually means? Clara, no, listen. I told you 3 months ago to decide if you were running toward something or just running. You chose to run. But maybe he's been running toward you this whole time, and you were just too scared to look back. After the call, Sana pulls up the article, reads it 3 times, searching between the lines. Lee Jae-hoon, 34, announced today that he will step down from the CEO position at Journey True to assume a newly created role focused on cultural authenticity and sustainable travel practices. I built this company on a promise of meaningful connection, Jae-hoon stated in a press release. It's time I honored that promise by returning to the work that matters most, ensuring every experience we offer is genuine, respectful, and transformative. When asked about the timing, Jae-hoon declined to comment on personal factors, stating only, "Some decisions take time to become clear. This one has been 3 months in the making." 3 months. Exactly how long since Lisbon? Sana's hands tremble as she opens her phone, scrolls to Jae-hoon's contact, still saved, never deleted despite every intention to forget. Her thumb hovers over the call button. What if Mrs. Park was right? What if I'm just a distraction disguised as inspiration? What if Maria was right? That love between different worlds is war, and someone always loses. But then she thinks about Jae-hoon's face at the fountain. The way he listened to Youssef talk about his granddaughter like it was revelation instead of conversation. How his hands shook when he said goodbye at the Lisbon airport. "Wait for me," he'd said. She hadn't. She ran instead, because running was safer than hoping. Sana hits call before she can talk herself out of it. It rings once. Twice. Her heart hammers so hard she feels it in her throat. The number you have dialed is no longer in service. The automated message is in Korean, then English. Disconnected. Like he erased that whole chapter of his life. Like he erased her. Sana sits in the Roman cafe as evening light slants gold through the windows. And for the first time in 18 months of solo travel, she lets herself cry. 2 weeks later, Sana stands in front of Riyadh Zara in Marrakesh, her backpack heavy with equipment and heavier with memory. She doesn't know why she came back. Except that everything started here. The duplicate reservation, the terrace confessions, the moment she looked at a stranger and recognized someone who understood the specific loneliness of building a beautiful life that feels empty. The Medina is cooler now in December, the winter air crisp enough to see breath in the morning, the high Atlas peaks dusted with snow in the distance. Fewer tourists crowd the souks. The city feels quieter, more itself. "Miss Carter." The receptionist, the same woman from 3 months ago, lights up with recognition. "You've returned." "Just for a few days," Sana says. "Do you have a room?" Of course. The same one if you'd like." Sana's chest tightens. "That's fine." The room is exactly as she remembers. 2 beds with embroidered covers, carved wooden screen, window overlooking the courtyard where the fountain still burbles eternal and patient. She half expects to see Jae-hoon's laptop on the desk, his leather journal on the bedside table. But the room is empty, except for ghosts. She unpacks mechanically, then heads to the rooftop terrace where it all began. The lanterns are lit even though she's the only guest, the city spreading below in its perpetual dance of light and shadow. I thought I might find you here. Sana spins around so fast she nearly drops her camera. Malik Hassan stands in the terrace doorway. Traditional jellaba in deep burgundy, that knowing smile crinkling the corners of his eyes. Malik. Her voice comes out rough. What are you doing here? I own a share of this riad, he says simply. The receptionist told me Sana Carter had checked in, and I thought, perhaps she could use some mint tea and conversation. He's already carrying a tray. Sets it on the table where she and Jihoon sat that first night, when everything was possibility instead of pain. Sana sits because her legs suddenly won't hold her. Did he send you? Jihoon? Malik pours tea with practiced grace. No. He doesn't know you're here. Is he... She can't finish the question. He's in Thailand, auditing a Journey True cultural immersion program in Chiang Mai. Malik hands her a glass. He's been traveling constantly since he restructured his role. Malaysia, Vietnam, Japan, Indonesia. Thorough as always. And is he... happy? Malik considers this carefully. He's purposeful. Whether that's the same as happy, I couldn't say. Sana wraps her hands around the hot glass. His phone number is disconnected. He changed it after the media attention became invasive. Malik's gaze is gentle but direct. He needed space to figure out who he was without the CEO title, and without me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. They sit in silence for a moment. The call to prayer drifts through the evening, layered and achingly familiar. Can I ask you something? Malik says quietly. Why did you leave? After Lisbon, when he went to Seoul, why didn't you wait? The question is the one Sana's been avoiding for 3 months. His mother called me, she admits. Said I was a distraction, that he'd worked 12 years to build his company, and I was derailing him when he needed focus most. She takes a shaky breath. And she was right. I was a distraction. I am rootless and directionless, and I have no idea how to fit into a world of corporate negotiations and chaebol expectations. Did Jihoon ask you to fit into that world? He didn't have to ask. I saw the photos of him at those Seoul events, looking like he belonged to a universe I could never navigate. She stares into her tea. Maria in Lisbon warned us. Love between different worlds is war, and I'm not a fighter, Malik. I'm a runner. Yes, Malik agrees, surprising her. You are. But so is he. What? Why do you think Jihoon came to Marrakesh in the first place? He was running from a life that looked successful but felt hollow. Running from family expectations, from corporate pressure, from the reality that he'd built exactly what his mother wanted and lost himself entirely. Malik leans forward. And then he met you. Someone else who chose to run toward authenticity instead of staying in a beautiful cage. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone in his running. Sana's throat is tight. Then why didn't he call? Why did he change his number and disappear? Because, Malik says gently, he made a promise on a Lisbon train platform. He said he'd come back to you, and he spent 3 months restructuring his entire life so that when he does come back, he can offer you something real, not stolen days between corporate crises, an actual life. The words hit like a blow. How do you know that? Because he told me. Right before he left for Thailand 2 weeks ago. Malik pulls out his phone, scrolls, then hands it to her. He asked me to give this to you if you ever came back to Marrakesh. He didn't think you would. But I know a thing or two about running, Miss Carter. Runners always circle back to where they started. The message on Malik's phone is in Jihoon's handwriting, a photo of a page from his leather journal. Sana, if you're reading this, it means you came back to where we began, which means maybe you're not running anymore, or maybe you're just running in the right direction. I know I disappeared. I know my silence hurt you. I'm sorry. I had to figure out who I am when I'm not performing CEO for investors and family in a world that measures worth in stock prices. Turns out, I'm someone who wants to spend his life documenting beauty and protecting authenticity and maybe, if you'll let me, loving a woman who taught me what brave actually looks like. I changed my number because I needed to change everything, to prove to myself and to you that I could build a life that doesn't require you to sacrifice yours. I'm finishing the Thailand audit on December 20th, and then I'm coming back to Marrakesh, to Riyadh Zara specifically, to the terrace where you asked me if I was running from something or looking for something. I finally have an answer. I was running from who I thought I had to be, and looking for who I actually am. And Sana, I found him. He's the version of me that exists when you're nearby, asking hard questions and taking photos of moments instead of monuments and believing that meaning matters more than money. If you're there on December 20th, I'll know. And if you're not, I'll understand. But I need you to know, I kept my promise. I came back. I just hope you did too. Jay. The date at the bottom, December 15th, today's date. He's coming here? Sana's voice is barely a whisper. Tonight? Malik's smile is answer enough. But I don't know what to say. I ran away. I gave up on... Then maybe, Malik interrupts gently. It's time to stop running. Both of you. He stands, collecting the tea tray. At the terrace entrance, he pauses. For what it's worth, Miss Carter, I've known Jihoon for 5 years. I've seen him successful, stressed, driven, exhausted. But I've never seen him happy. Not until that week he spent with you, learning to see his own work through your eyes. Malik, he'll be here around 8 p.m. The receptionist has instructions to send him to the terrace. His eyes are kind. What happens after that is between you and him and whatever God you pray to. He leaves. Sanaa sits alone on the rooftop as dusk deepens into night, the city lighting up below like a carpet of captured stars. She pulls out her battered moleskin, the notebook that's traveled with her through 14 countries, filled with stories of other people's courage. Maybe it's time for her story to be about courage too. At 7:55 p.m., she's still sitting there, heart hammering, when she hears footsteps on the stairs. Jihoon appears in the terrace entrance looking thinner than she remembers. Hair longer, face shadowed with exhaustion that goes bone deep. He's wearing the same gray overcoat from Marrakesh, jeans instead of corporate tailoring, carrying a small backpack like any other traveler. But his eyes, when they find her, ignite with something that makes her breath catch. Sana. Her name in his mouth sounds like prayer. She stands because sitting feels impossible. You came. I promised I would. He takes one step onto the terrace, then stops. Like he's afraid any sudden movement will shatter the fragile reality of her presence. I wasn't sure you'd be here. I wasn't either. Until I was. They stare at each other across the small distance. 3 months of silence and hurt and restructured lives between them like a chasm. I'm sorry, Jihoon says roughly, for disappearing, for changing my number without telling you, for not fighting harder to make you stay in Lisbon. Your mother called me. The words spill out. After the article, she said I was a distraction, that you'd worked too hard to let some aimless photographer derail you. Jihoon's jaw tightens. She had no right, but she was right. Sana wraps her arms around herself. I was a distraction. You had a company imploding and I was taking you to tile museums and fado bars like we had all the time in the world. You weren't a distraction. Jihoon's voice carries an edge of desperation. You were the first real thing I'd experienced in years. The first person who made me remember why I started Journey True in the first place. And then I ran away. Because I gave you reasons to run. He takes another step closer. I lied about who I was in Marrakesh. I let corporate chaos interrupt what we were building in Lisbon. I made you feel like you had to compete with a world you never asked to be part of. So you quit being CEO. I didn't quit. I evolved. His smile is slight but real. The board was happy to take the day-to-day operations. They never understood why I insisted on personally auditing every itinerary anyway. And this way, I get to do the work I actually love without the bullshit politics. And your mother? We had a conversation. Several, actually. Jihoon runs a hand through his hair. I told her that I spent 12 years building a company to prove I wasn't a failure, and in the process became exactly the kind of man I never wanted to be. Someone who measures worth in profit instead of purpose. His voice drops. I told her that meeting you showed me the difference, and that I'd rather be happy than impressive. What did she say? That I was making a mistake. That I'd regret choosing instability over legacy. He holds Sana's gaze. But then I asked her if she was happy. In her marriage, in her chaebol life, in the world she fought so hard to maintain. And she didn't answer. The night air is cool enough that Sana can see their breath mingling between them. The city below pulses with its eternal rhythm. Motorbikes and music, and the percussion of 1,000 lives intersecting. I don't know how to do this, Sana admits. I've spent 18 months alone, because being alone felt safer than risking someone else's version of who I should be. I'm not asking you to be anyone except who you are. But what if who I am is someone who can't stop moving? Someone who photographs other people's roots because I'm terrified of growing my own. Jihoon closes the final distance between them. This close, she can see the shadows under his eyes. The new lines that 3 months of intense travel have carved around his mouth. He looks older, and somehow younger, like he shed a skin that never fit. Then you keep moving, he says quietly. And I'll move with you. That's the whole point of restructuring my life, Sana. So I can audit journey true experiences around the world while you document authentic human stories. We'll both be doing the work we love, just not alone. But Seoul, your family, the expectations. I have an apartment in Seoul that I visit twice a year for board meetings. The rest of the time, I'm wherever the work takes me. He takes her hand, tentative, like she might vanish. I'm not asking you to fit into my world. I'm asking if we can build a third option, one that doesn't exist yet. Maria's words echo. Love between different worlds is beautiful, but it is also war. But maybe, Sana thinks, the war isn't between their worlds. It's between who they've been and who they're becoming. I'm scared, she whispers. Me too. What if we try this and it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. Which is more than we're doing now. His thumb traces circles on her palm. Sana, 3 months ago in Lisbon, you told me the not knowing is the point. That's where the actual living happens. So I'm asking, can we live in the not knowing together? The question hangs between them, weighted with every confession on this terrace 3 months ago, every shared silence in Morocco and Portugal, every moment they chose honesty over comfort. Sana thinks about the ceramist's granddaughter, choosing pottery despite knowing she'll never be wealthy. About Maria singing fado, pouring her soul into notes that dissolve into air. About every person she's documented who chose meaning over security and never regretted it. About the fact that she's spent 3 months running from the first person who made her feel less alone, and it's been the loneliest 3 months of her life. Yes, she says, simply. Certainly. Yes, I want to try. Jihoon's exhale is shaky with relief. Yeah? Yeah. And then she's crying, which is absurd because this is supposed to be a happy moment. But Jihoon is pulling her into his arms, and she's laughing through tears, and he's pressing kisses into her hair, like he's memorizing the reality of her. I missed you, he whispers against her temple. Every temple in Thailand, every market in Malaysia. I kept turning to tell you something and you weren't there. I know. I photographed a ceramics studio in Athens and spent the whole afternoon imagining what you'd say about their techniques. He pulls back enough to cup her face, thumbs wiping away tears. Can I kiss you? Properly this time, not like a terrified goodbye at an airport. Sana's laugh is waterlogged but real. You better. The kiss is soft at first, tentative with 3 months of silence and hurt to navigate. But then his hands are in her hair, and hers are fisted in his coat, and it's deeper, desperate, tasting like mint tea and promises finally kept. When they break apart, both breathing hard, Ji-hoon rests his forehead against hers. "So what now?" Sana asks. "Now," Ji-hoon says, pulling something from his backpack. "I give you this." It's a small succulent plant in a terracotta pot. The same species she'd tried to take with her from Seoul 3 months ago. The one that died because she couldn't make it survive in transit. "You kept it alive," she whispers. "No, this is a new one. The old one died because I didn't know how to care for it properly." His smile is slight. "But I learned. And I thought maybe this time we could take care of it together, wherever we go." It's such a small gesture. Such a profoundly meaningful one. "Ji-hoon, I'm not proposing," he says quickly. "Not yet, anyway. I'm just saying. I want to build something with you that survives travel, that grows roots even when we're moving. Is that something you want too?" Sana looks at the plant, then at him. This man who quit being a CEO to audit cultural experiences and learn to care for succulents, and came back to Marrakesh on faith that she might too. "Yes," she says. "Let's grow something." So they spend 3 days in Marrakech relearning each other. Mornings in the souks, Ji-hoon taking notes on vendor interactions while Sana photographs hands shaping copper and women weaving rugs with patterns older than memory. Afternoons at Riyadh's, comparing schedules, his audit calendar, her documentation projects, finding overlaps and compromises. "What if we make Lisbon a home base?" Ji-hoon suggests over tagine on their second night. "It's central to Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Good flight connections, and you loved it there. But what about your sole obligations? Twice a year for board meetings, the rest is remote." He pulls out his tablet, shows her a restructured contract with Journey True. "I negotiated complete autonomy for field work. As long as I deliver quarterly reports on cultural authenticity metrics, I can audit from anywhere." Sana studies the contract, then him. "You really did this, restructured everything." "I told you I would." His hand finds hers across the table. "I keep my promises, Sana, even when it takes 3 months." On the 3rd day, they visit Youssef's ceramics cooperative. The old man's face creases with delight when he sees them together. He says something in Arabic. Malik, who's accompanied them, translates with a knowing smile. He says he knew 3 months ago you would return to each other. True artists always recognize their counterpoint. Ji-hoon asks Malik to translate a question. "Would he teach us to make something together? As a memory of this time?" Youssef nods enthusiastically. They spend 2 hours at the pottery wheel, Ji-hoon's hands over Sana's, learning the pressure needed to center clay. They're terrible at it. The pot keeps collapsing, their rhythm out of sync. But by the end, they've made something lopsided and imperfect and completely theirs. "We'll fire it and ship it to you," Youssef says through Malik. "For your new home." Sana realizes she's not scared of those words anymore. New home. Not a fixed cage, but a place built together. That night on the terrace, stars vast above them, Ji-hoon asks, "Where do you want to go next?" "I have a documentation project in Dakar," Sana says. "Textile artists keeping traditional dyeing methods alive. 3 weeks, maybe 4. Journey True is launching a Senegal itinerary in February. I'm supposed to audit it." "So we go together?" "We go together." He kisses her knuckles. "And after Senegal?" "Wherever the work takes us. Separately or together." She considers this. 6 months ago, the question would have terrified her. The implication of entanglement, of compromising her carefully protected solitude. But now, together when it makes sense, she says carefully. Separate when our projects diverge, but always coming back. Like a home base, like roots that travel. Ji-hoon pulls her close, and she rests her head on his shoulder, watching Marrakesh glitter below. The city where everything started, where two people running from different fears found each other in a duplicate reservation and learned that intimacy doesn't have to mean imprisonment. Can I tell you something? Ji-hoon's voice is quiet against her hair. Always. I was terrified you wouldn't be here tonight. That I'd rebuilt my entire life around a possibility that didn't exist anymore. And if I hadn't been? I don't know. Kept traveling, I guess. Kept auditing experiences and taking notes in my journal and hoping that someday I'd be brave enough to stop waiting and start living. He tilts her chin up to meet his eyes. But you were here, so I don't have to find out. Sana kisses him, slow and deep and full of promise. I'm here, and I'm staying. Not in one place, but in this. Whatever this is we're building. A third world, Ji-hoon murmurs. One that's ours. 4 months later, Sana stands in Ji-hoon's Seoul apartment, staring at her reflection in floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Han River. She's wearing a dress Clara helped her pick via video call. Elegant but not trying too hard. Korean designer, but not costume. Her hair is styled, makeup careful. She looks like someone who might belong at a Chaebol family dinner. She feels like an imposter. You look beautiful. Ji-hoon appears behind her, adjusting his tie in the reflection. He looks uncomfortable in the formal suit, like he's wearing someone else's skin. I look terrified. That too. He turns her to face him. But remember, this is just dinner. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to perform. Just be you. Your mother called me a failed curator with no prospects. My mother, Ji-hoon says firmly, is going to see tonight that you're a successful documentarian who's had work featured in National Geographic and The Guardian, and currently has a book deal with a major publisher. All true. Sana's documentation project has taken off in the 4 months since Marrakesh, her authentic approach to cultural storytelling resonating with editors tired of glossy tourism content. The book deal came last month. Roots that travel, stories of meaning in motion. And if she still thinks I'm not good enough, then that's her loss, not yours. He kisses her forehead. I love you, Sana Carter. My mother's opinion doesn't change that. The words still make her chest tight with wonder. They'd said them for the first time in Dakar, watching textile artists dye fabrics in indigo pits, covered in blue stains and laughing at their own clumsiness. Simple, certain, true. I love you too, she says. Even when you make me have dinner with your terrifying family. Especially then. The dinner is at a traditional restaurant in Gangnam, the kind of place where business deals and family alliances are brokered over perfectly arranged dishes. Ji-hoon's mother, Mrs. Park Soyeon, is already seated when they arrive, flanked by an aunt and uncle Sana hasn't met. Mrs. Park's gaze sweeps over Sana like an appraisal. Miss Carter, how unexpected to see you again. Mrs. Park. Sana bows, using the formal greeting Ji-hoon taught her. Thank you for inviting me. My son insisted. The words carry layers of meaning. The meal is exquisite and excruciating. Conversation flows in Korean, occasionally translated by Ji-hoon, always feeling like there's a parallel discussion happening that Sana can't access. The aunt asks pointed questions about Sana's family background. The uncle wants to know about her business plan for her photography career. Mrs. Park remains silent, watching with eyes that miss nothing. Finally, over dessert, she speaks directly to Sana in English. My son tells me you've secured a book deal. Yes, ma'am. It's about cultural documentation and sustainable travel. How interesting. The tone suggests otherwise. And where will you live while promoting this book? Surely you'll need some stability for publicity tours and media appearances. It's the question Sana's been dreading. Because she doesn't have an answer that will satisfy this woman who values roots and legacy and knowing exactly where you belong. We're planning to base ourselves in Lisbon, Ji-hoon says, before Sana can respond. It's central to Europe, and Sana's publisher is based there, but we'll travel frequently for both our work. We. Mrs. Park's eyes sharpen. You're living together? Mother, it's a simple question, Jihoon. Sana takes a breath, finds her courage. Yes. We've been living together for 2 months. We have an apartment in Lisbon, and we travel together when our projects align. How very modern. The judgment is barely veiled. It works for us, Sana says quietly. I know it's not traditional, but neither of our lives are traditional, Mrs. Park. Jihoon's job requires constant travel. So does mine. This way, we build something together, instead of apart. And when you want children, a family, the question lands like a grenade. If we want children, Sana says carefully, we'll figure it out, together, like we figure out everything else. Mrs. Park sets down her teacup with precise control. Miss Carter, you seem like an intelligent woman, so I'll be direct. My son worked for 12 years to build a company that matters, to prove his worth to a family and society that expected him to fail. And now he's restructured his entire life around a relationship that began as a booking error. Mother, that's enough. Jihoon's voice carries warning. Is it? Because I watched my son spend 3 months destroying himself trying to save his company while pining for a woman who ran away the moment things got difficult. And now she's back, and he's given up the CEO title. And I'm supposed to smile and accept that this is what happiness looks like. The table goes silent. Sana feels the old panic rising, the urge to run, to disappear, to prove Mrs. Park right about her instability. But then she feels Jihoon's hand find hers under the table, steady and warm and present. You're right, Sana says, and watches Mrs. Park's eyebrows rise in surprise. I did run, because I was terrified, because your son built something impressive, and I couldn't see how someone like me, someone with no roots, no family legacy, no fixed plan, could fit into that world. She takes a shaky breath. But here's what I learned in those 3 months apart. Impressive and happy aren't the same thing. And your son wasn't happy being a CEO. He was successful, but he was also losing himself. And you think you saved him? How arrogant. No. Sana holds her gaze. He saved himself by choosing work that matters over work that impresses, by building a life that aligns with his values instead of your expectations. I didn't save him, Mrs. Park. I just loved him enough to let him figure out who he wanted to be. The silence stretches like glass about to shatter. Then Mrs. Park does something unexpected. She laughs, short and sharp, but genuine. You have courage, I'll give you that. She looks at Jihoon. Is this what you want, truly? More than anything, Jihoon says without hesitation. Even knowing you're disappointing me? Even then. His voice is gentle but firm. I love you, Mother. But I can't live your version of my life anymore. I tried for 12 years, and it nearly destroyed me. Mrs. Park is quiet for a long moment. Then she sighs, and suddenly she looks older, the elegant armor cracking to show the woman underneath. Your father, she says quietly, was impressive too. The family chose him for me because he was successful, connected, from the right background. We had a very impressive marriage. Her smile is bitter. We were also both miserable. Jihoon's hand tightens on Sana's. I never wanted that for you, Mrs. Park continues. But I didn't know how to want anything different. How to believe happiness without status was possible. She looks at Sana, really looks this time. Maybe I was wrong. It's not acceptance, not quite, but it's not condemnation either. I'm not asking for your blessing, Jihoon says, but I would like it, eventually. Mrs. Park nods slowly. Then prove me wrong, both of you. Build something that lasts, even if it doesn't look like what I expected. As they leave the restaurant, Sana's hands are still shaking. That was terrifying, she says once they're in the car. You were incredible. Jihoon pulls her close. Thank you. For staying. For fighting. I almost ran. But you didn't. That's what matters. Sana rests her head on his shoulder as Seoul blurs past the windows. Neon and glass, and the weight of expectations they're learning to carry differently. We're really doing this, she whispers. Building a life together. Yeah, we really are. Sana stands on a different terrace in Marrakech. The same Riyadh, the same view, but everything transformed by a year of choosing each other daily. It's December again, the city wrapped in winter's crisp clarity, the Atlas Mountains white-capped in the distance. Below, the Medina pulses with life. Familiar now, not exotic. Home in the way places become home when you return to them with intention. Did you find it? Jihoon's voice from the doorway makes her turn. He's holding the lopsided pottery bowl they made with Youssef a year ago, fired and glazed in deep blues and oranges that catch the late afternoon light. It's become a ritual, bringing it back to Marrakech every December, returning it to where they began. I found it, Sana says, taking it from him carefully. Still ugly, still perfect. Like us, she laughs, setting the bowl on the terrace table where they shared that first confession. Around them, evidence of the year they've built. Jihoon's leather journal, now containing notes from 23 countries. Sanaa's newest camera, upgraded with her book advance. A sheaf of papers, plane tickets, hotel receipts, the accumulated proof of movement and meaning intertwined. The book launched 3 months ago to reviews that made Sana cry. Carter's lens finds grace in the overlooked and profound wisdom in the ordinary. One critic wrote, "She photographs roots without romanticizing them, showing that meaning and mobility aren't opposites, but partners." Journey True's cultural authenticity metrics have improved 30% under Jihoon's auditing. He's built relationships with local guides worldwide, creating a network of culture bearers who ensure every itinerary respects and compensates the communities it touches. Do you think we'll always come back here? Sana asks, watching the city light up as dusk deepens. To Marrakech? To this Riyadh? I don't know. Jihoon wraps his arms around her from behind. Maybe. Or maybe we'll find new places that become ours. But this one started it. So it feels important to honor that. Like Malik said, belonging isn't about where, but who with. Exactly. They stand like that as the call to prayer rises, layered and eternal. A year ago, Sanaa was terrified of this, of building something that required return, of growing roots that might become a cage. But roots, she's learned, can be mobile, can be a person instead of a place, can be the choice to come back every day, even when it's easier to run. I have something for you, Jihoon says, pulling back. He's nervous suddenly, in a way that makes her heart skip. Jihoon, it's not what you think, or maybe it is. He pulls a small box from his pocket. Open it. Inside is a key, simple brass, attached to a leather tag embossed with an address in Lisbon. I bought the apartment, Jihoon explains quickly. The one we've been renting, so it's ours. Actually, ours, not just temporarily ours. Sana stares at the key, emotions tangling. A year ago, this would have felt like entrapment. Now it feels like promise. But, Jihoon continues, there's something else in the box. She looks closer. Underneath the key, a folded paper. She opens it to find a flight itinerary. Marrakech to Dakar, to Cape Town to Nairobi, a 6-month circuit through Africa, hitting cultural heritage sites and Journey True locations in cities where Sanaa's identified documentation projects. I thought, Jihoon says softly, we could have both. A home base that's ours, and wings to keep flying. 6 months traveling, 6 months in Lisbon writing and editing and being still. And always together. It's perfect. It's terrifying. It's exactly what she didn't know she needed. Yes, Sana whispers, to all of it. The apartment, the travel, the together. Jihoon's exhale is pure relief. Yeah? Yeah. She kisses him, tasting mint tea and promises kept, and the specific joy of choosing the same person, every day, even when it's scary. But Jihoon, What? Eventually, I'm going to want the other thing in a box, too. He goes still. Are you saying? I'm saying I'm not afraid anymore. Of roots or rings or building something that lasts. She cups his face. I'm saying I love you. And I want to keep choosing you. Officially. Jihoon's smile is sunrise bright. Sana Carter, was that a proposal? Maybe. What are you going to do about it? He laughs, pulling her close. I'm going to say yes. And then I'm going to ask you properly, with a ring, and probably terrible romantic Spanish in some Portuguese cafe. And you're going to say yes because you love me even when I'm cheesy. Deal. They kiss as Marrakesh ignites below, a city of 1,000 years learning to balance tradition and transformation, just like them. Epilogue, chosen. Every day. 2 years later. The gallery opening in Lisbon is packed. Art critics, travel journalists, cultural documentarians, and a surprising number of Journey True clients who've become friends over the years. Sana moves through the crowd, her hand frequently finding Jihoon's, their matching simple gold bands catching light. The exhibition is called Roots That Travel, a visual memoir. 50 photographs documenting their journey, artisans in Marrakesh, fado singers in Lisbon, textile dyers in Dakar, Jihoon's hands centering clay, the lopsided bowl on their terrace, Mrs. Park at a family dinner 6 months ago, smiling genuinely at something Sana said. The centerpiece photo. Their reflection in the Bahia Palace fountain, taken by Malik during their return trip. 2 people who were running alone, now running together, their reflections rippling but connected. Clara stands in front of it, tears streaming. I'm so proud of you, she says, when Sana approaches. You stopped running away and started running toward. That takes guts. I had help. Sana squeezes Jihoon's hand. No, Jihoon corrects. We helped each other. Across the gallery, Malik examines a photo of his own hands offering mint tea, the image Sana took that first night back in Marrakech when he brought Jihoon's message. He'd flown in from Morocco for the opening, bringing Youssef and his granddaughter. The girl, now 14, is already studying at a ceramics institute, her talent undeniable. She chose it, Youssef told Sana earlier, beaming. Just like her grandmother's hands told me she would. Mrs. Park couldn't attend, a business obligation in Seoul. But she sent flowers with a card. Beautiful work. Perhaps I'm learning to see differently. SP. Not a full blessing, but movement toward one. As the crowd thins, Jihoon pulls Sana to a quieter corner. I have news, he says, nervous excited. Good news? The board approved my proposal. Journey True is launching a fellowship program, funding cultural documentarians to travel with our itineraries, capturing authentic stories and ensuring ethical practices. He grins. I'm chairing it, and you're the first fellow, if you want. Sana's breath catches. Jihoon, it's paid. Generous stipend, full editorial control, your work credited and compensated properly. And it means we travel together for work, not in spite of it. It's everything she didn't know to dream of when she quit her curator job 3 years ago, bought a camera, and ran toward uncertainty. Yes, she says. 1,000 times yes. They kiss, and someone in the gallery whoops, probably Clara. Later, after the crowd has gone and the gallery lights are dim, Sana and Jihoon stand in front of the centerpiece photo. Their reflection in the fountain, ringed by Moroccan tiles, 2 people learning that belonging isn't about where you are, but who you're with. Do you ever regret it? Jihoon asks quietly. Giving up pure solo travel for this? Sana thinks about the question, about the girl she was in Atlanta, curating beauty but not living it, about the woman who ran alone through 14 countries learning to be brave, about the person she's becoming, still moving, still documenting, but no longer afraid of the specific vulnerability of being chosen and choosing back. No, she says simply, because solo travel taught me I could survive alone. But this, us, taught me I could thrive together. That's rarer. Maria was right, Jihoon murmurs. Love between different worlds is war. But we're not fighting between worlds anymore. Sana leans into his shoulder. We built the third option. The one that didn't exist until we made it. Outside, Lisbon settles into evening. Trams clattering through narrow streets. Fado drifting from open windows. The Tagus River reflecting lights like captured constellations. Somewhere, travelers are booking journey-true itineraries, seeking authentic connection in an increasingly homogenized world. Somewhere, artists are choosing meaning over money, documenting truths that matter even when no one's watching. And in a Lisbon gallery, two people who once ran from different fears stand before proof that intimacy isn't imprisonment. It's partnership. That roots can travel. That being chosen every day is more beautiful than being free alone. Ready to go home? Jihoon asks. Sana thinks about their apartment, books on culture and photography, Jihoon's audit notes, the succulent plant that's grown unexpectedly large, somehow thriving despite constant moves. She thinks about the 6 countries they'll visit in the next 4 months, the stories waiting to be documented, the work that matters they'll do together. Yeah, she says, taking his hand. Let's go home. And for the first time in her life, home isn't a cage. It's a choice, made new every morning. With a man who understands that love is both the journey and the destination. They walk into the Lisbon night together, and the city embraces them. 2 travelers who finally stopped running from fear and started running toward each other.